across the stars, through your speakers, threading the fabric of reality. This is Intergalactic Insider, your resident guide through the tangled web of the cosmos. Felix Andromeda here. From sprawling megacities to remote outposts, if it's happening in the galaxy, you'll hear it here first. Now, I know we've got listeners scattered across time and space on wildly different schedules. Whether you're sipping your first stellar brew, relaxing after a shift on the asteroid mines, or pondering existence somewhere in the temporal twilight. Welcome aboard. Get ready for a whirlwind tour of the galaxy, folks. We're diving headfirst into the fallout of the infamous credits crash, dissecting the chaos and searching for any glimmer of stability on the horizon. Buckle up, because this economic roller coaster isn't slowing down. Then, we're zooming in on an innovation so mind-blowing it might just rewrite the rules of education across the galaxy. Are you prepared to upload knowledge directly to your brain? But hold on to your hyperspace helmets, because things are about to get weird. In our deep dive, we're cracking open the mind of Zorgon the enigmatic alien comedian whose humor echoes across countless planets, dividing audiences and making some extremely powerful beings laugh or squirm uncomfortably. Plus, dust off those zero-gravity boots, because we're blasting off to an interstellar vacation spot that'll make you forget every earthly stressor, guaranteed to outshine those dusty Martian resorts. And yes, we'll wrap this stellar broadcast with a detailed cosmic weather forecast, because let's face it, you don't want to get caught in an ion storm on your way to work. All right, starfaring friends, it's time to tune in and turn up the cosmic curiosity. Alert! Alert! Our galactic news feeds are crackling with updates straight from the financial front lines. Yes, folks, the infamous credits crash continues to send shockwaves through the interstellar economy. It's a domino effect of galactic proportions, systems teetering on the brink, trade routes frozen, and a whole lot of angry, financially ruined beings across the cosmos. Joining me to break down this mess, we have economic strategist extraordinaire, Lyra Cassiopeia, and from the illustrious think tank on planet Xerxes, the ever-insightful Professor Xylon Polaris. Lyra. Professor, thanks for beaming in on short notice. This situation is making my antenna twitch. All right, Lyra, let's dive into the heart of this fiscal firestorm. In layman's terms, how did this credits crash even happen? Was it some hyper-intelligent fungus manipulating the markets? Alien insider trading gone wrong?
Not quite as exotic as rogue fungi, Felix. Unfortunately, this crash stemmed from a combination of over-leveraged investments in volatile sectors, a sudden panic across several key markets, and let's not forget the unexpected collapse of that interstellar shipping conglomerate. It was the perfect storm, highlighting the fragile interconnectedness of our economies.
Fascinating and terrifying. Now, Professor Polaris, here's the question echoing in the minds of everyone from mega-corporate CEOs to those scraping by in the asteroid belt. Is there any hope of recovery, or are we spiraling into a full-blown galactic depression?
The road to recovery is uncertain, Felix. A coordinated response across multiple systems, even concessions from powerful trade guilds, may offer a glimmer of hope. But if left unchecked, this crash could trigger cascading failures and a recession echoing through the known galaxy.
Well, that's certainly not reassuring. Our Intergalactic Insider feed is lighting up with reactions. User Stardust42 on the colony world of Epsilon 7 writes, "This crash wiped out my family's savings. We were planning to send our kids to the Nebula Academy. Their future is gone." Another from Moonminer 89. "My pension fund is worth less than a handful of Venusian dust bunnies." Lyra, how do we address the real-world impact on ordinary citizens caught in this economic crossfire? Are there emergency measures or, dare we hope, A bailout on the horizon?
There are no easy answers, Felix. Governments must prioritize relief funds for struggling communities. But even then, the scale of this disaster may demand grassroots solutions, localized bartering systems, mutual aid networks. It won't be a return to normalcy, but survival sometimes means finding a new normal.
All right, time for a flash history lesson to put this crisis in perspective. Over to our resident historian, Professor Cosmos. Professor Cosmos, can you draw any parallels between this credits crash and historical financial meltdowns, perhaps even venturing back into murky Earth history?
Sadly, yes, Felix. This crash echoes themes seen in events like the Earth's Wall Street crash of 1929. Overconfidence in a booming market, blind faith in systems that lacked resilience. There's a lesson there. Unregulated markets may promise meteoric growth, but crashes often follow.
Professor Polaris, it seems history has a nasty habit of repeating itself, even with spaceships and plasma rifles. Are there systemic changes needed to prevent history from making a mockery of our progress?
Absolutely. More robust regulation, perhaps even an AI-assisted watchdog for financial systems, would add a layer of predictive analysis. And diversifying our interstellar economy, lessening reliance on a few key sectors, would help mitigate future shocks.
This is illuminating, even if it's illuminated a rather grim picture. Folks, we'll need to take a quick ion break, but we'll be back to dissect the credits crash further.
I thought dating a Xandorian would be exciting. Tentacles, exotic cuisine, a whole new perspective on tax forms. But now, it's 3 cycles later, and all we do is argue about whether the nebula looks better in ultraviolet or infrared. Last night, she rearranged my furniture using telekinesis just to prove a point about feng shui. And don't even get me started on the silent treatment. It lasts for days when you're dating a telepath. Is there anyone out there who still uses words to communicate? Or better yet, someone who won't try to reprogram my entertainment console to show nothing but 500-year-old Flortorian soap operas? Intergalacticharmony.org. Maybe you'll find love out there, because I sure haven't. Unless you count my growing fondness for this suspiciously comfortable stain on my couch that smells faintly of fermented seaweed.
Welcome back, fellow explorers of the unknown. Our deep analysis of the credits crash reminds me of those multi-eyed Beetlejuicean accountants. The deeper you dig, the more problems you uncover. But fear not, we'll crawl out of this fiscal black hole, eventually. Now, Lyra, Professor, this may sound crazy given the turmoil, but could we see opportunity hidden in this disaster? An opening for some radical, long-suppressed economic ideas to finally gain traction? Bartering systems? Perhaps some obscure philosophies from ancient Earth texts? Or would the whole galaxy just scream and run back to the familiar chaos of credits and markets?
It's the economic equivalent of a quantum probability field, Felix. Stability itself is in question, so any prediction is fraught with uncertainty. What we might witness is an unprecedented hybrid situation, desperate communities experimenting with local alternatives, while some core systems cling fiercely to what's left of the conventional economy. It could lead to a patchwork galaxy, with vastly different approaches coexisting at least initially.
Indeed. The very idea of what constitutes value might be up for renegotiation. Time itself could become a more significant form of currency, trading hours of a skilled laborer for essential goods, or pledging to share future harvests in exchange for immediate aid. It's a leap into the unknown, driven by necessity as the bedrock of our financial reality shifts beneath our feet.
My circuits are alight with the possibilities. Speaking of reevaluating value, let's address the big question. What does this crash mean for the galactic power players? Professor Polaris, will we see ruthless exploitation, or could this be a wake-up call for those in power? Does a crisis like this have the potential to shake up the status quo and usher in a more, shall we say, equitable era?
It's a double-edged nebula, Felix. Chaos breeds opportunists, those looking to consolidate power by preying on the fear and insecurity of the masses. We mustn't be naive. Scapegoating and suppression are classic tactics in such situations. However, with the right leadership, and let's emphasize the if there, this crisis could fuel a wave of reform. Demands for transparency, systems built to benefit all sectors. It's that age-old struggle between the forces of self-interest and those working towards the common good. Sadly, the former often have a head start.
A sobering reminder indeed. And amidst the analysis and speculation, it's easy to forget the real impact felt by beings across the galaxy. Let's hear from Zara Talvor, a voice from the frontier, a dose of hard-earned wisdom from the planet Aurelia Prime.
All those credits, all the fancy markets. Turns out they're as flimsy as a solar sail in a nebula storm. Here, far from the core systems, we've always known what matters. The soil you work, the food on your table, the strength of your neighbours. Those suits in their ivory towers might finally realise there's no profit on a barren world. Credits fall, the sun still rises. Life finds a way.
Zara's words ring true, don't they? In the face of cosmic-scale disruptions, that fundamental spirit of adaptability is perhaps our most valuable asset. Now hold on tight, friends, because with every economic implosion comes the potential for something new to rise from the ashes. We've covered a lot of ground, but this is just the first ripple of the credits crash aftermath. Next up, a mind-bending breakthrough that might just redefine the limits of intelligence. Think you're ready to have your mind expanded at the speed of thought? Blast your mental receptors wide open, folks, because we're about to dive headfirst into the realm of mind-boggling innovation. If you thought the credits crash was wild, get ready for a revolution in how we learn, how we evolve, and how we might just rewrite the very definition of knowledge itself. The technosphere is crackling with news of an invention that promises to turn education on its head, a way to upload knowledge directly to the brain. Think learning a new language in an afternoon, mastering a complex skill in minutes. It sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but apparently it's very real. To decipher the what and the woe behind this breakthrough, we have Dr. Nova Schuyler, a pioneer in neuroenhancement, and from the prestigious halls of the Andromeda Institute, renowned educational theorist, Professor Astraios Lumos. Now, Dr. Schuyler, let's cut to the chase. Is this brain upload tech the real deal?
Felix, I can unequivocally say this invention will fundamentally change how we think about learning. Years of rigorous research have culminated in a process that allows knowledge, skills, even entire language libraries to be implanted directly into the brain's neural pathways. It's the end of textbooks as we know them.
Now, Professor Lumos, while this sounds amazing, learning calculus over a space latte, there must be consequences, right? Our brains weren't built for downloading a galactic encyclopedia in an instant. What are the implications?
That's the crux of the debate, Felix. While this technology promises unprecedented intellectual expansion, there are ethical dilemmas galore. Who decides what knowledge is deemed essential? Could this deepen existing inequalities, or worse, be used for, shall we say, less benevolent purposes? The potential for misuse is staggering.
Hold up. We just got a flash notification from the Outer Rim Network. Apparently, there's already outrage brewing on the colony planet Proxima Beta. Seems this tech reminds some folks of that outlawed Centauri mind manipulation scandal. Listen to this message from a Proxima Beta citizen named, Xylozerix.
This ain't learning, it's cheating. My ancestors crossed the void for a better future, not to have knowledge spoon-fed into their heads while they float in some neurostasis tank.
Strong words, Xylo. Dr. Schuyler, how do you respond to these concerns? Is this about progress, or are we tinkering with something better left untouched?
I understand the fears, Felix. Change of this magnitude often causes ripples of unease. However, this technology is about empowering individuals. Imagine a child on a remote outpost accessing the finest educational resources in the galaxy, or an injured veteran regaining lost motor skills through a neural implant. The potential good far outweighs the hypothetical risks.
But, Professor Lumos, doesn't this raise deeper questions about what it means to be human? If learning involves struggle, the process of understanding, is instantly uploading knowledge robbing us of something essential?
Excellent point. Our identities are formed not just by what we know, but how we acquire that knowledge. There's beauty in the journey, the overcoming of obstacles that shapes a mind. If we shortcut that process, we risk losing something fundamental along the way.
We could debate this till the next supernova. Time for a quick word from our sponsor.
Ever dreamt of exploring the multiverse? Tired of the same old nebula views? Well, strap in and blast off with Blarg's interdimensional tours. Experience mind-bending alternate realities, where gravity is optional and your evil twin runs a successful bakery.
Whoa, whoa, everything's purple here, and I think I'm growing feathers. Wait, does this itinerary mention a return policy?
Blarg's interdimensional tours. Because sometimes it's not about the destination. It's about those hilarious insurance claim forms you'll fill out later. Just remember, tentacles aren't covered by our standard accidental dismemberment protection.
Back in the thought stream, folks. All right, let's bring history into the mix. Historian Professor Cosmos, beam in. Have we seen anything like this before? Attempts to accelerate or shortcut the learning process?
Throughout history, Felix, there's a recurring desire to master knowledge. From ancient mnemonic techniques to questionable 20th century Earth experiments with subliminal learning, societies grapple with this tension between earned growth and the allure of a shortcut. But direct brain upload, that's uncharted territory.
Knowledge at the speed of light or the erosion of the very essence of intellectual growth. Opinions are already sparking faster than a pulsar outburst. Let's jump back into the fray. Dr. Schuyler, a lot of our listeners are technical-minded. Can you give us a basic rundown of this knowledge implantation technology? How does it actually work?
In very simplified terms, Felix, we've developed highly specialized DNA sequences that can be introduced into specific neural regions. These sequences act as code, carrying the information to be integrated. When activated, those neural pathways are essentially reprogrammed, creating new connections that translate into tangible knowledge and skills.
Mind-blowing. So, someone could upload expert-level spaceship piloting skills directly into their brain, and just like that, they're ready for takeoff.
Theoretically, yes. However, there are nuances. This technology isn't about creating knowledge from nothing. A foundation of understanding is still required. Think of it like upgrading your ship's navigation systems. You still need to grasp the basics, but the advanced functions become seamlessly within reach.
Fascinating, but also slightly terrifying. Professor Lumos, if this tech becomes widespread, how would an educational system even function in this new paradigm? Do we even need schools anymore?
That's the billion-credit question, Felix. Our traditional educational models were built on a gradual process of knowledge accumulation. We'd need to fundamentally rethink everything from curriculum to assessment. Perhaps the emphasis shifts to critical thinking, the ability to question and analyze, rather than simply absorbing pre-packaged information.
But won't this create a two-tier society? Those who can afford instant knowledge upgrades, and those stuck grinding away the old-fashioned way?
equity of access is a paramount concern. This technology has the potential to level the playing field, but only if implemented with rigorous safeguards, subsidies, perhaps even a galactic mandate for universal access. Left unregulated, it could indeed exacerbate existing inequalities.
It seems, as always, it comes back to power and control. We're getting some interesting reactions on the Intergalactic Insider feed. Listener Talara from a remote research station writes, "Imagine the possibilities for collaborative science. Researchers instantly sharing complex data sets. This could revolutionize our understanding of the universe." But user Zaxnor from the industrial planet of Hephaestus isn't so optimistic. Just what we need, more know-it-all elites born in a pod, never worked a day in their lives. Well, love it or hate it, this genie is out of the bottle. Professor Lumos, let's go big picture. Are we staring down the barrel of a transhumanist revolution? Does this kind of tech change the very definition of what it means to be sentient?
Perhaps, though I'd argue we've been on that trajectory for millennia. Our tools and technologies have always shaped our intellectual evolution. However, this acceleration, this potential disconnect between lived experience and knowledge, it does raise profound questions of selfhood and the role of the individual within a vast, technologically interwoven cosmos.
And as always, those questions don't come with easy answers. Folks, we're just scratching the surface of a topic that'll be fueling debates across the galaxy for generations. But hey, at least with knowledge implants, we'll all be able to follow the arguments in 17 languages. All right, before we blast off into celebrity territory, let's see what's on everyone's minds. Anya from Cygnus 7 writes, "Instant fluency in every language? Sign me up." Sounds tempting, Anya, but what about the joy of butchering karaoke in a foreign tongue? Meanwhile, Borax on the mining moon of Ceres has a different take. "Give me the blueprints for every starship engine in existence. Time to revolutionize the intergalactic shipping industry." Ambitious, Borax, but there might be a few regulations in your way. But hey, those uploaded blueprints won't help you win the Galactic Karaoke Championships. And speaking of galactic champs, after this short break, put down your knowledge downloaders, folks, because we're delving into the fascinating and often absurd world of intergalactic celebrity culture. Our special guest today is a true enigma, Zorgon Tralfamadore, the comedian whose jokes crack up and confuse beings from 5 different dimensions. Buckle up, because this interview is likely to bend your logic and your funny bone. Buckle up your metaphorical funny bones, listeners, because we're warping into the uncharted territory of intergalactic A-listers. Our guest today is a being who defies categorization, the legendary, the enigmatic Zorgon Tralfamadore. Zorgon, famed comedian of the Andromeda Nebula and destroyer of, well, let's just say his routines leave audiences speechless, in more ways than one. Welcome aboard. A hilarious anecdote about the mating rituals of Groxolian amoebas, no doubt. Classic Zorgon. Now, for our listeners who speak, well, anything other than Zorgonese, we have our trusty translator to bridge the vast comedic gulf. Let's dive in, Zorgon. How exactly did a being like yourself, no offense, become the hottest thing in intergalactic humor?
According to the translator, Zorgon finds the very concept of a physical form inherently comedic. Something about fleshy appendages and the limitations of linear time. Apparently, this is side-splitting stuff on his home planet. Hilarious, right?
Right. Hilarious. Now, Zorgon, your jokes. They leave audiences bewildered and strangely compelled. Think Monty Python meets astrophysics on a bad acid trip. How do you explain the, shall we say, mixed reactions?
Zorgon says true humor transcends the limitations of, oh dear, Seems my circuits are overloading. Something about multidimensional puns and the inherent absurdity of the space-time continuum. May require a reboot after this interview.
Fascinating. Interstellar gossip rags are buzzing Zorgon. Zorgon to write autobiography? Zorgon to host his own cooking show? Is there any truth to these rumors, or are they just another case of galactic misinformation?
Blarp. Sproing. Publicity. Lubricant. Engagements. Transcend. Limitations. Unexpected. Side order. Inexplicable. Blarp.
Well, folks, there you have it. Straight from the, translator's kazoo. Love him or hate him, Zorgon keeps the cosmos guessing. Now, let's see what the listeners have to say. But first, Professor Cosmos.
Zorgon's rise to fame is a recent phenomenon, but it coincides with a growing trend in intergalactic entertainment, a yearning for the bizarre. Humor across the cosmos has traditionally been slapstick-heavy, relying on physical comedy and universal concepts like pratfalls. Zorgon's brand of humor, however, taps into something entirely different, the existential dread and inherent absurdity of a vast and uncaring universe. Is it genius or gibberish? That's a question that has sparked heated debates in galactic comedy clubs and academic journals alike.
Thank you, Professor. Take Blork from Zeta 6. Blork, a mild-mannered accountant, used to scoff at Zorgon's routines. "Just nonsensical noise," he'd declare, shaking his head. Then, Blork attended a live Zorgon performance on a whim. He left the show changed. It wasn't funny exactly, Blork later confessed, but it made me question everything. My place in the universe, the meaning of life. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Blork's story is just one example of Zorgon's impact. Whether you find him hilarious or horrifying, there's no denying he's a comedian unlike any other. Zorgon, you're a comedian who divides galaxies. But hey, at least you're not boring, right? Zorgon's signature chuckle there leaves us with more questions than answers. Folks, is this the future of comedy? Existential musings wrapped in a language no one understands? Let's see what the audience thinks. User Stardust791 on Epsilon Prime writes, "Zorgon is a genius. Makes me want to laugh, cry, and re-evaluate my life choices simultaneously." Meanwhile, Emperor Zorg of the Zarkon cluster complains, "This is an insult. My royal translator just self-destructed, muttering something about the futility of existence." Zorgon, you inspire strong feelings, both good and bad. All right, let's dig a bit deeper. Zorgon, humor often reflects the anxieties and desires of a civilization. What does your meteoric rise say about where galactic society is headed? Are we all just a bunch of confused beings in a chaotic universe, seeking a warped mirror in our entertainment?
Zorgon suggests that perhaps your societies have become overly comfortable. Stagnation breeds complacency, a thirst for the familiar. His work, he believes, acts as a disruption, a reminder that the universe is far stranger and more beautiful than your daily routines allow you to see.
Well, you've certainly disrupted my afternoon. Interesting, but does disruption equal progress? Some listeners might argue that pushing past the familiar is what allows society to grow, while others say you're just adding fuel to the cosmic dumpster fire with your unique comedic stylings.
Zorgon believes his humor is a catalyst. It forces a reaction, contemplation, even outrage. From such discomfort, new ideas can be born, or possibly a few interplanetary wars, depending on audiences. He finds both outcomes stimulating.
Now there's a comedian who understands the power of his platform. Let's end on a lighter note. If you could tell a joke the entire galaxy would understand, what would it be?
Why did the Exlorbian blob cross the quantum entanglement field? To get to the same side. Now that's funny, regardless of your dimensions.
Well, folks, there we have it. A joke so universal even our translators struggle. Whether you find Zorgon a comedic genius or the bringer of interdimensional chaos, you can't deny he's a true force in the universe, one that challenges our notions of humor and perhaps even the way we see ourselves. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I need to lie down in a dark, quiet room for a while. But don't worry, folks. After this mental palate cleanser, we're back to familiar territory. Next up, brace yourselves for the ultimate in galactic escapism, our space-cation destination of the week. We'll be exploring the sapphire beaches of Aquaria Prime, guaranteed to erase any memories of malfunctioning translators and jokes about blobs crossing quantum fields. All right, fellow explorers, if you're still processing the enigmatic interview with Zorgon, get ready to dive headfirst into a realm of pure relaxation. Shake out those tentacles, reoxygenate those gills, or whatever form of respiration you favor. We're escaping to another dimension of intergalactic tourism. To guide us through the wonders of this aquatic paradise, we have a true space-cation connoisseur joining us today, Zalara Tidebringer. Zalara, a veteran travel guide and aqua world enthusiast, welcome aboard. Zalara, take us there. Paint a picture of Aquaria Prime so vivid our listeners can practically feel the sand between their toes.
Absolutely, Felix. Aquaria Prime is a true gem for those seeking a getaway with a touch of the extraordinary. Imagine beaches of bioluminescent sand sparkling beneath your boots, like fallen stars. The air is warm, tinged with the scent of exotic island flora, and the twin suns warm your skin without scorching. But the real magic lies beneath the waves.
I've heard Aquaria boasts some of the clearest waters in the known galaxy. What can visitors expect as they venture below the surface?
It's like stepping into a living kaleidoscope. Schools of dazzling fish leave trails of light, while graceful, translucent creatures dance through the depths. The coral reefs themselves are works of art, teeming with colors and shapes that defy imagination. And with Aquaria's remarkable underwater visibility, you'll feel like you're flying, not swimming.
Sounds breathtaking. Now, Aquaria Prime has a reputation for catering to thrill seekers and culture lovers alike. Let's start with that underwater adrenaline rush. Tell me about the abyssal plunge.
It's an experience like no other. This gravity-defying waterslide propels you through an illuminated underwater chasm, surrounded by all the wonders of the deep. It's like traversing a nebula at thrilling speed. Hold on tight and try not to scream with delight.
Perfect for washing away any lingering stress from dodging malfunctioning translators, wouldn't you say? Speaking of de-stressing, tell us about Coralia. The floating city, is it right?
Indeed. Coralia offers a glimpse into Aquarian culture. Walkways gently sway with the currents, museums overflow with luminous mosaics and ancient coral sculptures, chronicling the planet's evolution. It's a unique blend of history and the vibrant present.
Aquarian cuisine is legendary. Our audience's taste buds are tingling. What sort of culinary adventures await a hungry space traveler?
Prepare to be amazed. Expect the freshest delicacies, flash-grilled with spices that'll make you think you discovered a whole new flavor spectrum. The Starlight Bistro, perched on a phosphorescent bay, is a must-visit. Imagine dining under 5 moons as the ocean glows beneath your feet.
Speaking of those glowing beaches, is there a best way to experience their magic? Do you have any tips for those planning their trip?
Absolutely! Post-dinner strolls along the bioluminescent sands are unforgettable. The beaches become mirrors of the cosmos. Lie back, relax, and feel the vast universe wash over you. Remember, pack your translation apps, waterproof gear, and most importantly, an open mind for experiences you simply won't find anywhere else, except on the tides of Aquaria Prime.
Well, consider my bags packed. Any trusted tour operators you recommend for our audience looking to book the perfect aquarian getaway?
Star Hopper Tours has a fantastic reputation. Whether you dream of a private underwater villa, a bioluminescent kayaking adventure, or a submersible voyage to the hydrothermal vents, they'll make it happen.
Zalara, you've sold us all on a trip to this ocean paradise. Thank you so much for taking us on this virtual dive. Folks, doesn't that sound like the perfect antidote to a head-spinning interview with a comedian who speaks in cosmic riddles?
Greetings, citizen. Have you misplaced your submolecular reconfiguration permit? Struggling to decipher the 15,000-page addendum on interdimensional waste disposal regulations? Let's be honest, the galactic bureaucracy is a labyrinth even the smartest AIs get lost in.
I just want to visit my aunt on Andromeda Prime. I submitted my trip authorization form 6 cycles ago. Form 57XRQB, to be precise. But now they're saying I filed it under the wrong existential paradox subclause.
I've been trying to cancel my subscription to Hyperdimensional Philosophy Monthly for 3 centuries. They just keep sending it and charging me for alternate timeline postage.
That's where the Department of Redundant Redundancies comes in. Our team of former bureaucrats, semi-retired cosmic entities, and accountants driven to the brink of madness specialize in untangling the knots of the galactic red tape.
They approved my request to breed tribbles, but only half a tribble. Honestly, what am I supposed to do with half a tribble?
The Department of Redundant Redundancies. We fight the absurd so you don't have to. Because in a universe this vast, the paperwork shouldn't be the most daunting frontier.
Welcome back, fellow space travelers. Refreshed and ready to blast off into the final segment of the show? Now, where were we? Ah, yes, the wonders of Aquaria Prime may have washed away the echoes of Zorgon's humor, but the journey continues. Let's get those cosmic weather updates to ensure a smooth journey to your next galactic destination. Welcome back, space drifters and cosmic cruisers. We're hurtling towards the final frontier of our interstellar voyage for today, but fear not, there's still plenty of antimatter in the engines, metaphorically speaking, of course. Before we light the afterburners and blast off into the great cosmic unknown, let's check in with our resident astrometeorologist, the one and only Comet Channing. Comet, my friend, any solar flares acting out? Any rogue asteroids throwing shade on popular vacation spots? Spill the cosmic beans.
Felix, my main squeeze, metaphorically speaking, of course. The cosmos is a fickle mistress tonight. We've got a doozy of a situation brewing on the fringe of the Andromeda Galaxy. Apparently, a rogue black hole is having a midlife crisis and is throwing a temper tantrum, spewing out solar winds at speeds that would make your hair stand on end, even if you were a sentient rock monster.
A black hole with an existential crisis? Sounds like something straight out of Zorgon's next stand-up routine. But seriously, Comet, any danger of this cosmic tantrum disrupting our listeners' weekend getaways?
Well, Felix, that depends entirely on where your listeners are planning on vacationing. If they're booked at the Andromeda Starry Sprinkles Resort, they might want to pack some extra sunblock, metaphorically speaking, of course, because those solar winds are going to feel like a cosmic sunburn. Although, on the bright side, they might score a discount on their stay. Who wants to vacation at a place with a permanent orange glow, right?
Sunburn? In the vast emptiness of space? Comet, are you telling me we need to slather on SPF 1,000,000? What about those of us vacationing on planets with atmospheres? Are we safe from this stellar sulking?
Relax, Felix, it's not the apocalypse, yet. For those snuggled up on planets with atmospheres, the biggest concern is some potential auroral displays a little more dazzling than usual. Think cosmic disco ball throwing a rave on the horizon with shimmering curtains of green, purple, and who knows, maybe even some hot pink. Not exactly a weather disaster, more like a free light show courtesy of a grumpy black hole.
A cosmic disco ball, huh? Now that's a weather report I can get behind. Looks like even black holes have their funky sides. So, Comet, any final words of wisdom for our intrepid space travelers before we sign off?
Always keep an eye on those local star charts, folks. You wouldn't want to get caught in a meteor shower in your birthday suit, would you? And remember, a little cosmic chaos is just the spice of life, or whatever the equivalent is on your particular corner of the universe. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and for goodness sake, don't forget your spacesuits. You never know when you might run into a rogue asteroid with a flat tire.
Sage advice, Comet. Thanks for keeping us all informed, even if your weather reports are occasionally delivered with the dramatic flair of a space opera. Although, I have to admit, a black hole throwing a cosmic tantrum is a new one for the books. That's all we have time for today. Space adventurers. Remember, wherever you're headed in this crazy cosmos, make it a stellar adventure. Until next week, keep your spaceships pointed skyward, your sense of humor intact, and maybe pack an extra bottle of sunscreen, just in case you find yourself caught in the crosshairs of an angry black hole. This is Felix Andromeda, signing off.